It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Matt Gaetz?
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. We've all been watching the horror show of the Democracy Party, the Democrat Party, as they take your psychotic, on too many meds, wine aunt, who is, never had a family, is really a miserable person, and they force her literally down the throats, reversal of a move there, of the Democrat Party and Democrat voters nobody even voted for. What happens now? Nobody's ever voted for Kamala Harris. Nobody in the primaries. Kamala Harris ran for president in 2020. She doesn't get any votes. And then they literally just shoved Joe Biden into a trash compactor. They shoved Joe Biden into a garbage disposal. And then they do these embarrassing, like, fake recording phone calls kind of things. You can see it. Kamala Harris says right here, hey, Joe, it's really nice to have you on the record. I mean, this phone call, right? Watch.
Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day.
Oh, yes, but then they trot Joe Biden out of his little car. Oh, dude, Joe Biden looks terrible, man. What have they done to this guy? They trot him out of the car, whichever Joe Biden this is. I think it's number 4, but it could be number 2. We're not exactly sure. They trot whatever Joe Biden we have today out of the little car. And I will say they have the creepy hair down, fake hair down, right, and the gross hairy neck, and the big fat top lip, because somehow Joe Biden now has a fat top lip, and they send him off to D.C. to give a speech. Now this is Joe Biden leaving that vehicle. Joe Biden can barely walk. Something horrible has happened to Joe Biden, and there's something wrong. Joe Biden, when asked about what's wrong with him and why he dropped out of the presidential race, kind of a big deal there, and you did it over X, and it's clearly not you signing the document, or whatever. He clearly has no idea that he's dropped out of the presidential race. Like, so these people are so evil.
Why did you drop out, Mr. President? Why did you drop out of the election? Was it a difficult decision to make?
Biden doesn't know. Biden has no idea. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on with Joe Biden is particularly cruel and mean, and you shouldn't feel sorry for him. He's evil, and he's getting what the party, was always going to do to him when he became useless. Joe Biden's been useless for a very long time. They need Joe Biden for a very specific reason, and now they are anointing, right, Kamala Harris, and they did it without a single vote from any Democrat, right? No Democrats voted for Kamala Harris. These are big questions that need to be asked, like, how are they getting away with this? Matt Gaetz had Director Wray, one of the top law enforcement agents in the country, in front of him, and asked him about this. Asked him about, like, having regular meetings with Joe Biden. Like, when did you know that Joe Biden was senile? Ooh, baby. It was a good exchange. Here we go.
Was the shooter on the FBI's radar in any way prior to the assassination attempt?
We did not have any information about the shooter. He was not in our holdings before the shooting. No
Communication in any chat rooms, no CIs or confidential human sources have any interaction with?
No, we've run a thorough search for the subject through all of our holdings, and he was not in them anywhere.
Were there any FBI agents or informants present at the Trump rally in Butler?
Not to my knowledge.
And Mr. Jordan was talking to you about Iran. Were law enforcement resources diverted from the protection of President Trump to John Bolton as a consequence of concern that Mr. Bolton might have been the target of Iranian malign efforts?
That's really a Secret Service decision. I don't know the answer to that. That's really something they would know better. What I can tell you is that there are a number of individuals. You mentioned one who we've brought a case a specific criminal case for the Iranians targeting for assassination, but how the
Are you going to get that answer to us, whether or not resources were diverted from Trump to Bolton? Is that just going to be part of your review?
I think that's going to be part of the reviews by the inspector general.
The inspector general for DHS, right?
Of DHS,
Right,
and the outside panel.
Got it. And I think that's an important point, because the inspector general for DHS has really fallen out of favor with the administration, because he's been pointing out all the problems on the border with Mayorkas and Biden, and we're always kind of worried that they're about to fire him, which would be a really bad idea now that this role that you've identified is so critical. Be a bad idea to fire the IG for DHS during the pendency of this, right, Mr. Director?
I don't think that would be a good idea.
I'm with you on that. So I want to zoom out a little bit. How often do you brief President Biden?
You mean on this specific case?
No, in your role as FBI director.
I mean, I don't know that I could give you a number.
Is it like weekly, monthly, daily?
It's not at a regular cadence. There have been times when there have been months at a time when I haven't, and then there have been times when several days apart I have.
Okay.
It's always with other people.
The vice president, is she typically there?
Often has been.
Okay, so when did you notice his decline?
In my interactions, in my role, all my interactions with the current president have been completely professional.
Right, but I mean the cognitive decline. I'm not saying he treated you unprofessionally, just maybe not picking things up as quickly as he used to.
Again, I don't meet with him very often, but what you're describing is not something that I've observed during my interactions with him.
I mean, we've had it observed so often that the ranking member and Mr. Schiff on this committee have said that he could no longer continue as a candidate. And so, since you're the FBI director, I was just sort of wondering, like, who's running the country? Like if something bad happened, you'd have to go brief President Biden about it right now? God forbid?
And on any number of occasions, I have briefed the president, and as I said, those briefings have all been uneventful and unremarkable.
Oh, I can imagine them being uneventful. But in the work where the vice president's also present, like you say, there's like more than half the time there's these briefings, she's there too?
I don't know if I'd said more than half the time. Certainly, there have been times where she's been present. There have been other times where she hasn't.
I take you at your word when you say this is the most complicated threat environment you've ever observed over a long career in law enforcement. And I'm just kind of wondering, with this assassination attempt, with the invasion at our border, with all the Hamas that have been let in that you've talked about and briefed about, like, is Biden up to it? And if he's not up to it, and you're a guy who's been regularly briefing him, like, who's been in on this conspiracy to hide the real Joe Biden from all of us for years? It never occurred to you that this guy wasn't up to it in all these briefings you did?
As I said, my briefings with the president have all been completely fine.
Were they between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.?
He's asked questions. There hasn't been anything of note in the area that you're talking about.
Yeah, did you ever have to brief him before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m.? We hear those are as good hours.
I've certainly times that I have briefed have included outside those hours.
Right. Okay. I just, I think the American people want to know how we got to this point with someone who's so diminished his own party has basically put him out to pasture. And since you had close proximity and the vice president had close proximity, I'm just kind of wondering if you were being straight with all of us about how things were going with him. I guess we'll have to figure that out.
You can count on me to be straight with you, sir.
We'll see.
Yeah, so it's amazing having friends who've worked at federal agencies and living in DC for 15 years. What the agencies are so obsessed with is trust, right? Like trust in our democracy and in our systems, and yet they are legitimately engaging in a coup against the president of the United States. They called us. They said that our side was doing a coup. They said that we hated democracy. And now here they are, like an open coup against Joe Biden, who's been screaming at the rooftop that he doesn't want to resign. They force him to resign. And then what happens next? Well, I don't think he knows he was resigned yet. We'll see what he says tonight. But boy, Joe Biden, what a mess. What a mess. But leave it to us to like ask questions about this. Democrats are like, Joe who? We don't even know who you're talking about now. Dude, you know what? You get the supporters that you can buy and program. So there you go. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. You're not Smooth Brain, right? No. You want actual truth here, not programming. See ya.